Someone asked me a question recently as to why I don't create content on specific businesses and industries the way many other channels do and which are thus more popular than Safal Niveshak's channel is. Well, I gave a quick answer to that person at the time, but I think in today's episode, I'll try and go deeper into it because the real answer is not really about content strategy or number of followers or views. It's about something I believed for almost 15 years, and I've never quite said it out loud in much detail prior to today. So here's a distinction I want to draw out for you on why I do what I do and why I don't do what I don't do. If you take a business, it's like a living thing. It has a management team that can change its mind or lose its way over time. It has a competitive position that can be disrupted by something nobody saw coming, like a new regulation, a new entrant, or simply a change in what customers want that looked irrelevant right up until it wasn't. Now, when you make a video analyzing a specific business, you're making a claim about something that is constantly moving. You might be completely right today, but at some point, that claim will need revisiting. Now, that's not a criticism of business analysis. That's just the nature of the subject. It's very specific, time bound information that decays because it has to. Now, compare that to the questions I actually spend my time on this channel and through my write ups on the Safal Niveshak website. These are questions like, why does a falling stock price make a rational person behave irrationally? Or why is doing nothing the hardest instruction to follow in this entire profession? Harder than any technical skill you could ever learn or master? Or even why do we hold on to a losing stock or losing position for the exact same reason we should have sold it, which is the hope that we'll be proven right eventually? Now, questions like these are not about a business, they are questions about the person looking at the business. And what I've come to firmly believe over the years, after watching this play out for over 2 decades now, is that the business changes constantly, but the person, in the ways that actually matter for investing, barely changes at all. Just think of it this way: the human body changes every single day, cell by cell. And yet, there is something underneath the body that remains untouched by all that change. The specific stock or business is like that body. It's constantly transforming into something else. But the mind that watches the stock, that panics when it falls 20, 30%, that gets greedy when it triples, that mind has been running the exact same program since markets have existed. Just go and read Jesse Livermore's account of the 1907 panic and then read anyone's account of March 2020. You just need to change a few nouns and you're reading the same essay written over 100 years apart. This is really the crux of why I chose the content I chose. If I make a video today explaining why a company's margins are likely to expand, I think that video has a shelf life, maybe 2 years, maybe five, if I'm lucky, and the thesis holds up. After that, either the world has moved on and made the analysis irrelevant, or worse, the world has moved on and made it flatly wrong, sitting there on the internet as a small monument to a call that didn't work out. But if I make a video on why smart, capable people sell good businesses at exactly the wrong moment, I think that video means just as much in 2035 as it does today. Somebody will watch it during whatever crisis comes next, and it will do exactly the job it was built to do. Because I wasn't writing about a business, I was writing about a nervous system that does not change. Now, I use a little test before I make any content. I honestly don't remember where I first picked up the idea, but my version of it is very, very simple. The test is a question I ask myself: will this piece of content, a video or an article, still mean something to someone 10 years, 20 years from now? A video on why a particular auto ancillary company deserves a premium valuation, I think, fails that test almost by design, because in 10 years, the entire auto industry might be unrecognizable given how fast the shift towards, say, EVs and autonomous vehicles is moving. But a video on Munger's idea of inversion, thinking backward from failure instead of forward from success, I think passes that test easily. Inversion will still be useful long after the specific companies I might use as examples today have merged, they've gone bankrupt, or turned into something else entirely. I think about it the way you might think about doctors. There's a real value in a doctor who has spent 20 years studying one rare disease in extraordinary depth. But there's also enormous value, maybe even greater value for most patients, in a doctor who deeply understands how the human body responds to stress in general, how fever works, how inflammation works, how the body protects itself and sometimes overreacts in the process. That second doctor, I think, can walk into almost any diagnosis with a foundation that transfers. I've chosen to be closer to that second doctor. Not because business specific analysis is not valuable. We clearly need both kinds of doctors, but simply because the transferable understanding of how investors respond to markets under stress is the one thing I have watched hold up, completely unbroken through every cycle I've lived through since I started as an analyst in 2003. The cement cycle, the 2008 crash, the small cap crash of 2018, COVID, and whatever undoes people next, which I don't know yet, and neither does anyone else. I'll also admit there's a personal reason buried in here too. And it's a little uncomfortable to say out aloud. I've been doing this for 15 years now, and when I look back at my own old writing, I notice something. I notice that the pieces, the articles I wrote about specific companies a decade ago are honestly a bit embarrassing to reread. And not because analysis was bad at the time, but because the world moved on and the piece did not move with it. But the pieces I wrote about behavior, about patience, about sitting through a drawdown without losing your mind, I think those read exactly the same today as the day I wrote them. The only thing that's changed is which crisis happens to be testing the same old lesson this time around. I would, I think, rather spend whatever working years I have left building something that ages quietly like that without ever needing a footnote than a body of work that needs correcting every time a business's fortunes turn. Finally, I want to be clear about one thing before I close. None of this is an argument against business analysis as a discipline. If you're serious about investing, you eventually have to sit with real numbers, read annual reports, real management commentary, and there are people doing that work seriously and doing it well. What I'm describing is simply a choice about where I have decided to put my own name and my own credibility, which is not on being right about next quarter for any particular company, but on being useful to the same person, feeling the same fear rise in their chest for as long as markets keep doing what they've always done, which is rise, fall, and test the patience of everyone holding on. So if that's the kind of understanding you're here for, I think you're in the right place. And if you came looking for the next stock to buy or the next hot sector to analyze, I hope you find someone honest who can help you with that. I am just not going to be that person. My job, as I see it, is to make sure that whichever stock or sector you do own, you are able to actually sit through owning it. And one last thing, and then I'll let you go. I know all of this probably means fewer subscribers, fewer views, and a smaller channel than it could otherwise be. And I'm completely at peace with that. Always have been. Because I don't chase growth numbers and I never really have. I'm not optimizing for a bigger audience. I'm optimizing for the right one. The one that stays for a year, not the one that clicks once and disappears. If that's you, I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for your time. This month marks 15 years of Safal Niveshak. And as a small way of saying thank you to everyone who has been part of this journey, I put together an anniversary offer on my books. If any of what I talk about in these videos resonates with you, the books go much deeper. I put the link in the description.